Story title: He took my trust, so I took back my life. Chapter 1. The message that changed everything. Julian was in the shower. Steam curled under the bathroom door. I was sipping coffee on the edge of the bed, scrolling through emails when his smartwatch buzzed on the nightstand. Normally, I wouldn't have looked. I respected boundaries. But the screen lit up with a message that made my stomach drop. Friday can't come soon enough. I miss you. Just 8 words. That's all it took to turn 6 years of trust into doubt. I didn't move for a long moment. Just stared at the text, letting it soak in like poison. My heart didn't race. My breath didn't hitch. It was worse than that. I felt still, paralyzed in knowing. The bathroom door opened. Julian stepped out, towel around his waist, humming something I used to find endearing. I looked up, smiled, and said, "You got a message." He glanced at the watch, froze for just a heartbeat, then shrugged. Work. Probably Amber from accounts. Amber. I filed the name away. Not in anger. In strategy. The rest of the morning passed like normal. We made breakfast. He left for the office. I kissed him goodbye. But the moment the door shut, I started digging. I opened our shared laptop. Checked the calendar. He had a conference this Friday. Out of town. Supposedly. Then I checked his email drafts. Empty. Too empty. We'd never had secrets. At least, I hadn't. But suddenly I was surrounded by them. Silent, waiting, ugly. I thought about calling Amber. Or yelling. But that would have given away too much too fast. Instead, I changed nothing. Not yet. Because the woman I was before that message was hurt. But the woman I became after it? She was about to start planning. A name in the shadows. I spent the next 2 days doing what I do best, research. Amber. Full name, Amber Doyle. Accounts manager. Divorced. Lives alone. And as I found out through a little social media sleuthing, she liked posting inspirational quotes and brunch photos. Her profile picture featured a golden retriever and a smile just a bit too polished. On Thursday, Julian left early for a meeting. He didn't know I tracked his car from my phone. I watched the little blue dot drive downtown, park for 2 hours near a hotel, not his office, then move again. That evening, I asked how his day went. Busy, he said. Exhausting. I smiled. You should rest. I already knew I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. Not with words. Words are fragile. Denied. Twisted. Forgotten. But evidence? Evidence is forever. So I started saving things. Screenshots. Car logs. Calendar changes. The coffee receipt he left in his coat pocket from a cafe 2 blocks from Amber's building. He still kissed me goodnight like nothing had changed. But everything had. Because now I had a name, a face, a pattern. And I wasn't just suspicious anymore. I was sure. The quiet archive. By Saturday, my home had become a crime scene. One only I could see. Every detail became a clue. Every object a question. The key to understanding wasn't confrontation. It was observation. I started organizing files on an external drive. Labeled folders, calls, messages, receipts, travel. The naming helped calm me. Gave shape to the chaos. Each file I saved was a piece of the story he thought he was hiding. I found out he had a second phone. Not because I saw it, but because I noticed the pattern. Certain conversations ended too cleanly. No trace on his main phone. But his monthly statement showed 2 devices. Same plan. Different number. That number belonged to Amber. I didn't need to read their messages to know what they said. The lies weren't just about sex or attention. They were about intention. He had built a world where I didn't exist. Not just a mistake. A choice. It hurt. God, it hurt. But pain became data. And data could be organized. Every time he touched me, I remembered a screenshot. Every time he smiled, I remembered the call log. I had once planned our life like a spreadsheet. Vacation dates, savings goals, baby names. Now I plan my exit the same way. And this time, I wasn't including him. The dinner that changed everything. Sunday evening, Julian suggested dinner at the sushi place where we used to celebrate everything. Birthdays, promotions, anniversaries. I knew what he was doing. He was trying to bring us back to something he'd already left behind. I wore the red dress he liked. He noticed. Smiled too wide. Told me I looked beautiful. We sat across from each other, candles flickering between us. He ordered our usual, talked about work, cracked jokes. I nodded, laughed politely, and watched. Watched how he avoided eye contact. Watched how he reached for his drink after every sentence. Watched him perform. This wasn't love. This was damage control. Halfway through dinner, he asked, "Do you still believe in us?" I took a slow sip of wine and said, "I believe in facts." He blinked. Didn't understand. But I didn't elaborate. On the drive home, he played our old playlist. The one we used to dance to in the kitchen. He sang along to one song. I didn't join in. At a red light, he reached for my hand. I let him hold it for a moment, then gently pulled away. He didn't speak after that. When we got home, he went to shower. I opened the locked drawer in my desk. Inside were USB drives labeled folders, a printed letter. The letter said simply, "I know. That's enough." I placed it in his work bag. He wouldn't see it tonight. But soon he would. I booked 2 reservations, one for him, one for me. The moment he fell asleep, I opened my laptop. The screen lit the dark like a confession. I booked 2 reservations that night. One was for the anniversary dinner we had planned at a rooftop restaurant. His favorite, the one with the view of the Sound. The second, a hotel room. One he didn't know about. My name was on both. It felt clean. Silent. Poetic. In the morning, I smiled at him while he shaved. Packed his lunch. Kissed his cheek. He didn't notice I was wearing perfume I only wore when I traveled. That afternoon, I left work early. Checked into the hotel, room 1104. Overlooked the city. I didn't bring much. Just essentials. My external drive. A burner phone. And the ring he gave me. I placed it in the drawer beside the bed. At 6 p.m., I arrived at the rooftop restaurant and waited. He came at 6:13, slightly late, slightly breathless. He smiled like he was trying. I ordered the wine. He asked about my day. Elite, gracefully. Midway through the main course, I excused myself to the restroom. I never came back. I left him with the check, the empty seat across from him, and a text that would arrive 1 hour later. Room 1104. The truth is in the drawer. I imagine he read it. I imagine he ran. What he found was the ring, the drive, and a folder labeled choices. Inside, photos, dates, calls, his own voice on recordings he forgot existed. I didn't wait for his reaction. I didn't need to, because this wasn't revenge. This was reclaiming, and I had just begun. The moment before the fall Friday morning came like the edge of a blade, sharp, quiet, inevitable. Julian was up before me, bustling around with the practiced ease of someone who had done this before. Suit pressed, watch charged, hair neatly styled. He looked good, presentable, reliable, deceit wrapped in professionalism. He kissed my forehead. "Back Sunday," he said. "Text if you need anything." I nodded, wrapped in the blanket we bought on our last vacation. The one where we danced in a vineyard, laughed over spilled wine, whispered promises under olive trees. That trip had felt real. But now those memories felt rented. Like a costume you return once the show's over. As soon as the door clicked shut behind him, I got to work. The storage unit was ready. My essentials were packed. Passport, documents, the necklace from my grandmother, my journals, my backup drive. Every shred of myself he had overlooked. I had already moved some things earlier in the week when he thought I was at yoga. The apartment lease was signed. A small one-bedroom on the other side of the city. Quiet. Courtesy. Mine. I stood in the center of his living room looking at everything I was about to leave behind. The couch where he first told me he loved me. The bookshelf we built together. The kitchen we'd once filled with music and wine and late-night plans. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I was past grief. This wasn't mourning. This was a reset. I checked his location. As expected, downtown near Amber's building. Second phone active. A reservation under a fake name at a boutique hotel. He was predictable now, which made planning easier. I didn't need a confrontation. I didn't want rage. What I wanted was disconnection. Quiet. Clean. Irrevocable. That afternoon I deleted shared accounts, rerouted my mail, forwarded my calls. I took only what was mine, no more, no less. And as the sun dipped low through the window, casting long shadows over our photo frames, I realized something. What I took with me. I left the next morning before sunrise. Not in a storm of screaming or slammed doors. Not with tears staining my cheeks. I left like I had arrived in his life, quietly, with intention. The suitcase by the door wasn't packed with revenge or heartbreak. Just the essentials. The parts of me he hadn't managed to touch. A necklace from my mother. My passport. The notebook where I used to write our grocery lists and now used to sketch the shape of my future. I didn't need much. Just space. And air. And time that belonged only to me. He was still asleep when I stood at the doorway one last time. Or maybe pretending to be. Either way, I didn't look back. Because this wasn't a grand exit. This was a correction. I slid a small envelope onto the kitchen table. Inside, a printed photo of the smartwatch message, a list of login attempts on his second phone, and a single sticky note in my handwriting. I saw everything. Ich chose myself. I left the keys on top. Then I walked out. What I took with me. I left the next morning before sunrise. Not in a storm of screaming or slammed doors. Not with tears staining my cheeks. I left like I had arrived in his life, quietly, with intention. The suitcase by the door wasn't packed with revenge or heartbreak. Just the essentials. The parts of me he hadn't managed to touch. A necklace from my mother. My passport. The notebook where I used to write our grocery lists and now used to sketch the shape of my future. I didn't need much. Just space. And air. And time that belonged only to me. He was still asleep when I stood at the doorway one last time. Or maybe pretending to be. Either way, I didn't look back. Because this wasn't a grand exit. This was a correction. I slid a small envelope onto the kitchen table. Inside, a printed photo of the smartwatch message, a list of login attempts on his second phone, and a single sticky note in my handwriting. I saw everything. Ich chose myself. I left the keys on top. Then I walked out. Becoming the woman he forgot I was. The first night alone felt wide. Not empty. Just unclaimed. The silence wasn't heavy, it was clean. I sat on the floor of a small Airbnb downtown, surrounded by walls that had no memory of him. No shadows in the corners. No ghost of trust breaking like glass. I made tea. Took a bath. Read a book cover to cover. And when I lay in bed, staring at a ceiling that didn't belong to us, I realized something that made me smile. I wasn't lonely. I was free. I'd spent so long being someone's partner, I had forgotten how whole I was on my own. How powerful. How dangerous even when I remembered. Because when a woman learns to stop begging for loyalty, she becomes someone no lie can hold. The last message. Weeks passed. He texted, called, emailed. Each message was a version of the same story. I messed up. I miss you. Please. But when someone breaks your trust, they don't get to rewrite the narrative. So I didn't reply. Not once. Until one evening I opened his final message. Just 2 words. I'm sorry. This time I typed back. I believe you. And I still choose goodbye. Then I blocked his number. Because closure isn't something you wait for. It's something you write yourself. Epilogue. The life I took back. I moved cities. Got a new job. Painted my walls a bold navy blue and bought plants I promised to keep alive. I stopped checking who was watching my stories. I started making memories that didn't need to be shared to feel real. Sometimes people ask if I'm over him. But the truth is, I'm over who I was with him. The woman who accepted half-truths in place of love. The woman who confused loyalty with silence. The woman who waited for someone to see her when she already had a mirror. I'm not her anymore. He took my trust. So I took back my life. And this time I'm not giving it away.